Really appreciate it. Here to just give a little NetApp update. Anyone here have NetApp? Awesome, thank you. We've grown quite a bit. I've been here for going on 4 years now. Came to NetApp through the SolidFire acquisition, actually, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end. NetApp is, we had a couple of missteps at a few years ago with Flash. Late to the game is the way I would describe that situation. But since played a little bit of catch up to, as of last quarter, NetApp is now the #1 leader in Flash, as well as a few other hot topics, including shipments of NVMe, all-flash memory storage, just tons and tons of petabytes of flash. We are also the leader in the #1 storage operating system in the world. And it's not by a small margin. As you can see, this is just one quarterly report, but this is what it looks like every quarter. There's some seasonal variation, but we're very proud of our leadership in this space. Gartner has finally recognized it, and this is the first. NetApp is now in the coveted upper right position in the leadership quadrant for Gartner. So we're very proud of that. How did it happen? Well, a lot of hard work. Our operating system, ONTAP, has been around for 25 years. Through strokes of luck and genius, I imagine, it's been able to adapt to the changing of time through virtualization. We were hot, when virtualization started coming out, to the operating system still works for Flash. We use the same log-like writing mechanism that all Flash systems use today. And we also have many ways to acquire our operating system. Most people are familiar with our engineered appliances, but we also have converged infrastructure offerings with Cisco, known as FlexPod. We have abilities to turn old, slow, dumb arrays into smarter NetApp-fronted arrays through a thing we call FlexArray. ONTAP is truly a software-defined storage operating system. We have, while that's true on our engineered systems, these are x86 boxes, just like you might find any one of our favorite server OEMs. We allow you to install our software on whatever white box hardware you want, including your Mac. I've done it. It works. This is frictionless download to go ahead and download it and try it out. It is the same code, which is fun to use and try. We also have capabilities. A lot of our customers are looking at near the cloud options. As Jeremy mentioned, moving data in and out of the cloud can be very expensive. Near the cloud solves some of that issue, as well as the ownership. Right? Who owns your data? It becomes a question when you put it in the cloud. By using near the cloud options, whether it be a colo or many other ways to still keep your data, your array in a cage near the cloud, make sure that you own the data and that it's fully under your control. As well as now in the cloud options, we know that some customers are looking at fully in the cloud options. So we call that, it's kind of going through a naming change right now. It used to be called ONTAP Cloud, so it makes sense in this slide, that's why I kept it that way, but also known as Cloud Volumes. So NetApp Cloud Volumes available at AWS, Azure, GCP, and Baba Cloud over in China. We're finding more and more enterprises are looking to use cloud compute resources, because Amazon's coming out with a new resource every 10 minutes, it seems. Whether you want to analyze the image to say, is this customer smiling, or is looking at data saying, is this something we want to monetize, right? That analytics piece is becoming, how do you monetize your data, and using cloud compute workloads to make that happen. There's a lot of different variations of everything we've talked about here, but having the same operating system available to you both on-prem, near the cloud, and in the cloud is really differentiating ourselves from our competitors. Just to give you an idea of this concept of data fabric, NetApp started talking about this 3 or 4 years ago. Back then it was kind of a concept. Now it's a reality. It all starts off as a single HA pair, an appliance in your data center, right? And the ability to add HA pairs and scale out as your needs grow. including the ability to non-disruptively add shelves, add capacity, but also migrate workloads between controllers. This used to be something like IBM had a storage virtualization controller back in the day. It's still around. That's basically included in all of our HA pairs. And through that, we told customers, keep expanding into, all flash arrays and next generation NVMe arrays, as well as to the cloud and that white box commodity server. Maybe it's on the edge in your branch office or your, a plant. A very popular use case in the Midwest here. NetApp has a lot of ONTAP running on white box and on plant floors these days. Any questions so far? It's always better when it's more interactive. Highlighting a use case here with Cisco. So this is our latest FlexPod. FlexPod is converged architecture and validated by Cisco Validated Design, CVD we call them. They're lengthy descriptive documents that describe the proper setup and administration for given sets of applications and hardware. So it could be something as obvious and easy as ESX, but also Citrix, Windows, Hyper-V, KVM, you name it. And pretty open design from what type of servers you want to use, what type of switches you want to use, and the storage as well, as long as it's NetApp. That's what makes a FlexPod. But this one using the MDS, which is a fiber channel switch for NVMe over Fabric for ultra low latency for your most demanding applications. Is that a question, Mitch?
No, I was waiting for Scott.
Scott, yeah, come on in. He's our next presenter, so that's important. He said he'd be running in. Cool use case for cloud. Part of our all-flash array offering is the ability to tier out cold data to a S3 object store. Now, object stores aren't that popular around here, but this is probably my favorite use case. And this is the ability to automatically tier out data that is no longer hot, right? So data has a life cycle. Typically, when it first gets written out, it's used actively and often. But over the course of typically about 30 days is our default. We call the data, if it hasn't been touched in that amount of time, we will age it out and can be tiered to either be Amazon S3, Azure Blob, or our own storage grid, object storage. So the concept here is to keep more of your active data on your hot tier, when not having to pay for expensive all-flash storage for otherwise cold data. Well, this is an active data flow. If something's tiered out, but yet it's requested, say even in a backup, it's pulled down out of the S3 object store into the backup, but not cached again. If it is a non-random read, we won't recache. It's intelligent caching for cold data. A little more about Flash. You don't become the leader in Flash without, doing a few of the right things. And part of it is we copied some of our competitors along the way, but in some ways made it even better. We had a free controller replacement program, meaning that if you had controllers that were 3 years old, but were interested in sticking with the shelves of disks underneath them, we allowed you to, as long as you renewed for additional 4 years, 4, 5, and 6 of support, gave the customer new controllers to speed up performance of the system. We found that was great, but customers were actually interested in keeping the controllers, and we made it more flexible, so you can now either take the free controllers or use the credit towards something else. Maybe it's some of our cloud technology, or maybe it's just more SSDs or another system entirely. Customers have found that to be much more flexible. We've also have of the industry's best capacity guarantees. So through the use of dedupe and compression, we have the ability to reduce the footprint of data taking up on your all-flash systems, thus lowering the cost per gig and making more workloads fit on Flash. We also have guarantees on we won't gouge on years 4, 5, and 6 of support. We put it in writing, and as well as lots of ways to try and buy NetApp gear to make sure that it's right for you. Speaking of dedupe and compression, we publish our reduction factor. Our average across our arrays that report back to us is 4.72 to 1. I think it's pretty sweet. Our guarantee is based off of these numbers you see here. Something for even as benign as home directories, which include mostly already compressed files. We guarantee a 1.9 to 1 data reduction. If we don't get it, we give you free flash. It's a pretty aggressive guarantee. So it is by workload. You can see VMware here at 3 to 1, Oracle and SQL databases at 2.5 to 1 data reduction. I'm impressed by. Again, a lot of these technologies are relatively compressed already. Part of data these days is making sure it's safe. Safe away from hackers, safe away from people who don't have access to it. Encryption is becoming important. Europe really highlighted this for us. NetApp is actually the #1 storage provider for the US government. That's how secure our systems are. Whether it be transport layer encryption, encryption at rest, availability is one of the key things we talk about in data. That is how often it's available. But durability is becoming more important because people are keeping data longer. So durability is the measurement of how long data is good before it's corrupted. So obviously 15.9's pretty decent. A little more on the data fabric. I think pictures put it into better than the words I can possibly use. But we're really saying that our customers have their own on-prem data centers. They're using some cloud resources. They're finding new fancy ways to put their data near the cloud. But this concept of data fabric is saying you can have your data where you want it when you need it there, easily and securely. Whether that be our own engineered systems in the cloud or FlexPod offerings, customers are finding it's very flexible. Cisco's here, and Cisco's a huge partner of NSI's, also a huge partner of NetApp's. We've had a converged offering with them for going on 10 years now. Finally, we have a single number to call for support. It used to be a friendly handoff. You'd call VMware, and VMware would say, "This isn't my problem." Call Cisco. Cisco would say, "No, that's actually NetApp's problem," and hand you off to them. This is a NetApp number to call. We will handle whether it's VMware, Microsoft, the UCS, the Nexus, or the NetApp storage. We will handle the issue to resolution. So this is a new offering. Very happy to have it out there. Comes with a fully automated lifecycle management software to manage all of the firmwares and the best practices to make sure that you're following the Cisco validated design. So this is part of the reason why FlexPod's been growing for us for the past couple of years. All right, SolidFire, wrapping it up here. Very passionate about SolidFire technology. I came here from a startup out of Boulder, Colorado. This has been SolidFire's shtick for a while now. Predictable, flexible, and simple. Simplicity is really becoming the name of the game in this next generation data center speak. That you used to have a dedicated storage administrator. Those guys are mostly retiring now, right? So we're replacing them with what? People who already have doing, whether it be the network administration or the virtualization administration, but really trying to get people doing more roles, right, and flattening out that organization. So simplicity is a key to that, so you don't have to be an expert at RAID groups, right, or parity calculations. We also made managing performance a lot easier. Every organization has mission critical workloads and less relevant workloads, right? And those less relevant workloads can be bullies sometimes and get in the way of mission critical databases. SolidFire has a technology called guaranteed quality of service, which allows the customer to set minimum guaranteed performance levels for different applications. It's easy to do. Here's a screenshot of the GUI. It can either be done per volume or just set policies. Some people think of it as gold, silver, bronze. Others talk about SQL production or VDI for the users we don't care about, right? You can be as descriptive as you want to be. But intelligently, we're allowing customers to use all the performance. If the production workloads aren't using the performance, we're allowing those secondary and tertiary applications to use the performance available on the box. Because we're not rate limiting, which is what most other storage vendors do when we talk about quality of service. So this is the new, much better, more intelligent way of doing it. Automation is part of what we see in private cloud. We talk about APIs, REST-based APIs, the ability to, not do repetitive tasks, especially not do tasks that we can easily automate. Because with anything done by a human, there's a potential for error. For anything we automate, that chance of error goes away. Everything that you can that can be done in the SolidFire system can be done through automation to eliminate those manual tasks. I think we've talked about this, but those same data availability encryption options are available in the SolidFire platform as well. And this is my last slide. How am I doing? Oh, 16 minutes, so almost perfect timing. Embedded is a replication. It's a real-time asynchronous or synchronous replication over IP, so it can be done either locally or to a remote site. NSI is actually Indiana's most recent SolidFire customer, so we're very happy to be providing them with SolidFire storage. But if you had your own SolidFire box, you'd be able to replicate to them, which is a service that you're going to hear about in a presenter coming up next. But it just forks writes coming out, like I said, either synchronously or asynchronously to, for disaster recovery or secondary workloads. Any questions? Awesome. Food should be out soon. Thank you.